Yo, what is going on, guys? Got an interesting video for you here today that was actually sent to me by quite a lot of you. This is a woman who says, "What I learned about men, love, and loneliness while being trafficked." Now, guys, before we jump into it, I will say this, okay? A lot of these people, never actually go on to define what they mean by trafficked. Okay, I've seen a lot of these women make these videos where they go into the nighttime industry. Now they regret it and they claim that they were trafficked. So I don't know what the exact situation this woman has is, but with that out of the way, let's jump into it. What she learned about men, love, and loneliness while being trafficked. Let's take a listen.
I really want to make this clear before I do this video. I have judged myself harder than anybody else. Any of you people in the comment section that might say whatever can judge me. I have been my most harsh critic. There's nothing that anybody can say that I haven't said to myself. There's nothing that anybody could say that I haven't thought, even when it comes to just the most brutal things. In reality, we are our own worst enemy sometimes, and our own worst judger. And this is a video I really feel like I need to do, because a lot of people who have been in this industry or who have been trafficked, which I was trafficked when I was just about to turn 19. So a lot of people want to talk about the trauma side of it, and I totally respect that, but I want to talk about what I learned from men.
So I'd be interested to know, guys. I've, over the last few years, particularly on the internet, I've seen this word thrown around a lot. Trafficked, I was forced, and so on and so forth. And granted, maybe this woman can't talk about it because of YouTube policies or whatever the case may be. But I'd be interested to know, was she actually forced into this industry? Because so many times I see women who, they go and do this stuff and then they regret it and they try and claim that the man perpetrated. There was some dude who forced them into the industry or something. Like there was that famous quote unquote actress. I forget her name, but she came on here and she made like a video regretting everything because she didn't get paid enough or something. And so she felt forced into the industry. It's like, at the end of the day, a lot of these women just don't like the accountability that comes with the things that they are doing. Now, again, I will say this. I don't know this woman's situation, guys. She could have gone through some very terrible things. I don't know. So I'm not trying to roast her. But I just don't like the vagueness here. If we could get some specifics, that would be great. Let's continue.
I learned a lot. And actually, I learned a lot. And not all bad. I just want to make that clear. My perspective is very different than I think some other people's. I am not saying that, I want to make this clear real quick, that almost every single one of those men had no clue that I was being trafficked, that there was a pimp or somebody helping to, there was somebody else behind the scene. They had no clue that some of the things that were being posted, it was actually a guy putting all that stuff on there. They had no clue.
I mean, that probably makes sense. There are probably a lot of guys who engage in this industry and buy these quote unquote services, as it were, who don't even understand that this is going on behind the scenes. Guys, I just assume that the majority of women who do this, I'll be honest, I just assume that they probably have managers and dudes who run this crap behind the scenes. That's always the assumption that I've made about it. I've often had the view, guys, that so many of these women are so damn mentally unstable that, the fact that they are trying to manage their own social media accounts and stuff properly, I'm a little bit skeptical, guys, because these women just seem absolutely all over the place. Let's keep going.
So I just want to make that clear before I do this. This is not a normal video that I have seen. So I thought it's something that I've really been trying to grasp at for a really long time. For many years, I've been out of this for 7 years and got out 7 years ago. So I just want to start by just putting that out there. I feel very nervous. My heart is racing. My heart is pounding right now. And I feel nervous talking about this, and I hope that people understand where I'm coming from. I'm not trying to judge anybody here. I'm just trying to express my perception. So there's a quote that I often think about, and it's, life will break you, nobody can protect you from that. And living alone won't either. For solitude will also break you with its yearning. But you have to love. You have to feel. It is the reason you are on this earth. So I didn't choose to be trafficked. And for a long time, I thought the only thing I take from that experience was going to be pain. But over time, I realized that I learned more than just the trauma part of it. I learned about people. I learned a lot about men and women and myself. How we all search for connection, even when we don't know how. I don't excuse what happened to me, but I can't pretend I didn't see the men who paid to see me who paid to see me. Not just for what they did, but for who they were. Some were broken, some were grieving, some just wanted somebody to lay next to feel human again. And for reasons I'm still figuring out, I've wanted to understand them. I want to understand everything. I'm the type of person that questions everything. Why do people do this? Why, I'm very fascinated by people, and including my own decisions, but especially others. I remember there was one guy whose wife passed away, and he didn't even want sex from me. He really just wanted somebody to watch a movie with, to lay with, to talk, or to be in silence, while he remembered what it felt like to be close to someone. It reminded me of the movie Her, where Joaquin Phoenix falls in love with an AI, not because he's desperate, but because he's lonely. Because even though the connection isn't real, it feels real enough.
Yeah, so I'm going to pause it here. Basically, what we're saying is some of these dudes who come into this industry and pay for these women, they're not just necessarily looking for intimacy. They're looking for some degree of connection, right? Some degree of, they want to actually, they want to get to know somebody or whatever. I think that this is incredibly stupid. I don't think that men should be doing this, to be honest with you. I think it's unwise. But that's the truth of it. A lot of guys are just going there because, like they can't get connection elsewhere, or if they can, they just don't think it's worth it, and so on. Like this story that she's talking about here, this dude grieving his wife, so he goes to her. I mean, sure. I mean, a lot of guys are doing this because they feel lonely, because they want connection from a woman. I personally think that it's quite silly looking for connection in these women, but hey.
That's the part I think most people don't understand, is that for some men, this wasn't just like about lust. It was about escaping the silence and trying to find somebody that can maybe give you comfort, and trying to find the warmth in places that left them colder than before.
I mean, this makes sense, right? Like, because you take a lot of guys who are going to these services, okay? There are certainly a lot of people out there, a lot of women who just treat these guys like absolute trash. The women can't even muster up pretending to give about a damn about them. A lot of the guys with like wives and stuff like this, man, oftentimes the wives don't even care about them. They treat them like a wallet. They treat them like an ATM, and that's pretty much it. So these dudes just go somewhere else. Now, I don't think that men should be doing this if they've got a wife or something like that. I think that's stupid. I think they should just divorce the woman. Hopefully he doesn't lose all of his assets and his children in the process, and so on. But yeah, a lot of these guys are going to these places because, society and modern day women are not exactly going to respect a lot of guys. They're not going to treat them well whatsoever. You think you're going to get any degree of warmth from a lot of modern day women, guys? It's certainly not going to happen, or at least for a lot of dudes.
And that's not something that normally we can find with society nowadays by just going out, Sometimes you can, but I don't know. People are different. I'm not here to judge, but I'm not really here to judge.
I mean, a lot of guys who are average, they can't just go out on any random Tuesday and build a connection with a woman. Okay, the average woman treats the average guy like absolute dirt. It's not like women where men can just jump on any number of different dating applications, or something that's not advertised as a dating application, say Instagram, social media in general. Men can't just jump on these applications and just that exact same night have somebody who's going to listen to all of their problems or care about them, or treat them nicely. That's not how this works. The average guy, if the average guy is going through some crap, typically nobody's going to be there or give a damn. Right? This is what I've said about men for the longest time on this channel, guys. But unless you're providing something, nobody cares. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody cares about your problems. Nobody cares about your struggles. You're not going to have people there, to message you on Facebook when you post a sad face. All right, like a lot of women do. It just simply doesn't happen for the majority of men. They can't just walk out and have somebody care about them and listen to their problems. And just by the way, a lot of the women who actually do, like, let's just say you do come across a woman who listens to your problems like this, it's like oftentimes the men just have to straight up pay them money anyway. It's completely nonsensical, guys. And then they wonder, by the way, why dudes don't marry them or date or anything, is because, not only is it a huge risk for men, but men can't even open up to the majority of people whatsoever, guys. Like, it's just a complete waste of their time. They get treated like trash for doing it.
Not every man I met was like that, though. Some were addicts, not to substances or alcohol, but to the chase, the high of the transaction. I wasn't a person to them. I was just part of a loop. It felt like Shame, the movie where Michael Fassbender's character can't stop seeking out sex, even when it leaves him feeling emptier each time. That kind of addiction, it doesn't care about faces, it only cares about the cycle. I saw it, men who thought that they were in control, but they were drowning in it, coming back again and again, hoping it would fill something inside of them that just kept growing. They became addicted to that lifestyle. It's weird, but it happens. Then there were the ones who didn't belong there. Attractive, charming, the kind of man that you would think could pick up any girl in a bar. The one that you were just like, why are you here? Why are you paying me? And the craziest thing is, one guy I'll never forget, I asked him and he just said that he's tired of the games. He was tired of going out and taking women out on dates and spending $200 on food and drinks, and just to be ghosted, or to find out that the girl had a boyfriend, or to find out, there's all these games involved. He just got sick and tired of it. He became bitter, for sure.
This is absolutely hilarious, guys. So even the dudes who have a lot of options with women, the men who can just go out there and pick up a woman at some bar or something because they're attractive enough, even these guys don't want to deal with modern day women and the headaches that come with them. How hilarious is that for us? Like, just take a second to think about that, guys. Even a lot of the men who could be successful out there in dating, they're still being treated like trash. They still have to deal with a whole bunch of nonsense that comes with dating modern women. Oftentimes they'll still get ghosted. Modern women will still expect them to pay for a whole bunch of crap and stuff like that. I think dating is, straight up, it's easier if you are an attractive guy, obviously. But let's not cut any corners here, guys. Like, trying to deal with modern women is completely a waste of time. And a lot of these guys, the reason why I assume they go to these services is because they understand what they're getting, But modern day women, it's like you have to do all of this crap and then she'll still be annoying and so on and so forth. Like, so you have dudes on both sides of the fence, right? You have the dudes who are lonely and so on. They'll go to these women for connection, which I think is a silly idea. And then you'll have the dudes who have options with women, and they'll go to these women just because they're sick of dealing with modern day women in a dating context, because it's simply not tenable. I find that to be simultaneously very sad and very funny at the same time. Like guys, it's really sad when you have to consider modern day women are quite literally losing to night workers women overseas, and pixels and video games. You know what I'm saying? Like, dudes, let me put this into context for you guys, right? Men would rather sit at home and play World of Warcraft and Call of Duty than to go out there and talk to modern day women. I mean, I think that says pretty much everything you need to know, doesn't it?
And he was just like, I'd rather just pay for what I want at that point. Like, I would just pay, and I could see like that he became bitter.
Yeah, of course, because these men, you know, a lot of men, pretty much all, dare I say, all men are required to pay in some form or another anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like, the dudes are, we as men, we're required to pay the toll fee anyway. Like, you don't meet a certain type of standard, you're not investing X, you don't get a long-term relationship anyway. And a lot of these guys understand this. It's like, okay, well, you know, you've got some woman who's trying to make him pay $200 for a dinner date. Like, what the hell's the point? The woman, it's funny, guys, because the women who are requiring this crap, by the way, they're essentially night workers too. It's just an extra step. You know, oh, you have to buy me this steak, or you have to take me here, or you have to do this. And the men say, screw it, I'm just going elsewhere, man. I'm either not going to date, or I'm going to go to this industry, or I'm going to go overseas, and so on. Men just go to different places. Like, to a lot of dudes, the game is simply not worth playing.
It felt like What Is Love? In the film, men stop trying to connect because they feel used, tired of rejection, and instead of risking real intimacy again, they pay for something simple, even if it's hollow.
I mean, yeah, that sounds pretty accurate to me. Dudes are sick of being used, they're sick of being treated like trash, and so they go to women like this where at least they know that it's completely inauthentic, right? Because even the modern day women, right, a lot of them will pretend like they give a damn, right? But like, you know, it's completely fake. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of these women, you think they care? Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no, they don't give a damn, right? That's, I would say that sounds pretty accurate to me, I would assume.
But the most unsettling part was the men who didn't want people at all. I've seen it now, men choosing AI girlfriends, virtual companions, because they don't disappoint. They're programmed to love you back. It reminds me of Blade Runner 2049. The main character has an AI girlfriend. She says everything he needs to hear. She's perfect, but she's not real, and that's the problem. That's where we're heading. Real intimacy it's too risky. We build something artificial and call it love.
Yeah, what do you mean, guys? Like, again, you as a dude, hey, go out there. You know, you want real love? Okay, risk your house then, risk your children, and so on. But I find it funny, everything just reminds this woman of a movie. You know, I don't know. I'm not a big movie head. I can't remember a lot of different movies. I don't really find myself watching a lot of them. But everything just reminds this woman of a movie. I find that to be very funny. But this is exactly what I was saying a second ago, guys. Like, modern day women are losing to pixels on a screen. They are losing to AI fake women that don't even exist. And the dudes understand. The funny thing is, men understand that this isn't some sort of real connection where they're cared about. But a lot of the guys just fail to differentiate between that and regular modern day women anyway. You think the average modern day woman gives a damn about the average modern day man? Absolutely not, guys. So the dudes sit there and they go, well, you know, those women don't care anyway, so what exactly is the point? I find it endlessly funny and sad that women are losing to pixels, guys. Like, again, dudes would absolutely sacrifice a lot for modern day women. So the thing is, you've got to understand that for men to walk away from dating and marriage and all of this sort of stuff, you have to understand that things have to be fundamentally broken, right? Dudes built society, they protect women, they care about women. So for men to walk away, you've got to sit there and be like, wait a minute. Something's really amiss these days, you know, for women to be losing 2 pixels.
And it works until you realize you're even lonelier than before, because people have a hard time now being transparent, because we've all been hurt, right? We've all been hurt. Some men don't want intimacy. They want control. I wasn't a person to some of them. I was something to conquer. It felt like Ex Machina, where men build AI women not to love them, but to own them, to manipulate, to discard them when they stop playing along. This is the part that really terrifies me, though, is it's not just trafficking anymore. It's not just men paying for women. We've stepped into something darker. for me, what I learned about men was there's a different variety of men, but honestly, most of them were lonely, were bitter, had a hard time finding something meaningful, and or I think they became addicted to the whole cycle. That was the majority of it. The ones who were grieving or whatever, that was different. There were men. This is the part that I feel like the most embarrassed about and ashamed, and I don't think I have forgiven myself. Eventually, when I would find out that men were married, it was horrible, and I felt horrible. I would try to talk to them about it and ask them questions I shouldn't even be asking, to try to like figure out how could I help their marriage and what could I give any advice. And I remember asking this doctor, and I was like, where does your wife think you are right now? And he said, oh, on lunch break. And even just saying that now, I remember that day, the pit of my stomach, I was a part of the problem. The people behind me were a part of the problem. And I feel so sorry. I feel so bad for those women. I feel so much guilt and pain. And honestly, I don't understand those men. I'm just gonna be honest.
Okay, so let me pause it here. And let me just say something right off the bat. I don't think that dudes should be doing this if they are married. I think that's like absolutely stupid. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you've got a wife or something like that, absolutely not. Again, guys, I'm not one of these people who thinks that cheating is cool, just because you're a man you can cheat, or just because you're a woman you can. I'm not really one of those people. I just think that cheating is cringe, no matter which way you slice it, which gender you are. I don't particularly care. That's just my opinion on it. So I will say this. Now, the reason why a lot of these guys are probably cheating and seeing these women in the first place is because, number one, you've got to understand that a lot of these guys can't actually leave their marriages without either losing their children, losing their houses and everything they've spent their life to build, or a combination of the two. Right? A lot of these guys can't actually leave their marriage. When women say they can't leave their marriages, I hear that all the time. I'm trapped in a marriage. What it really means is they don't want to pay the bills by themselves anymore. Maybe they haven't been with him long enough, so they can't walk away with the cash and prizes. Maybe they're not sure if they can actually walk away with them. So a lot of women say that they're trapped in these terrible relationships, but really what it means is they don't want to have to resume paying their own bills. When men say that they are trapped in marriages, what this means is the men cannot leave, or they will lose like 20 years of their life's work. You know what I'm saying? Or they will actively just lose their children, and she'll take the children and leave the country. Like, guys, I have known men, right, who they break up with their woman, the marriage is over, and then they just lose the kid. The kid just ends up being taken to some faraway country. That's not a joke when I say that. So a lot of these guys, they really do have a lot to lose in these situations. I'm not saying it's right, but that's probably why. Also, a lot of these wives oftentimes just treat the dudes like ATMs. They don't respect them. These are the men that these women, quote unquote, settled for. This is something that I talk a lot about on the channel, guys, is women will have their fun with bad boys. They'll look to get married around like 30 to 35 so that they can have children and look like they weren't screwing around. But the thing is, the men that these women usually end up marrying, they weren't her first choice. So she's always going to be comparing him to the previous men. She doesn't respect him. He's more or less just a walking ATM, and so that's probably why these dudes end up going to these women. Again, I don't want to say that's right. I think it's stupid, but those are probably the reasons why. Let's keep going.
I don't really understand that. If it's not working and you have to go and betray somebody and go behind their back and pay somebody, and you don't know, you might as well leave the relationship, the marriage. But again, that's not for me to force people. That was one of the worst. I would say the other worst thing was being trafficked to drugs, dealers. Yeah. Yeah. I hear it from guys I know. I hear this from friends, from guys I used to date, or my partner now that we are together. How OnlyFans is safer than dating. How AI girlfriends never reject you. I've watched men lose themselves to corn because it feels easier than facing real people. And women, we're doing the same thing. Women are just as bad. I mean, we're ghosting for sport, using men for attention we don't even care about. But now it's not just us hurting each other, it's machines. AI girlfriends are already here. I've seen the ads. She listens to you, she won't cheat on you, and people think it's funny and they laugh. But I don't think it is. Because the truth is, humans are parasites to each other. We drain each other, we use each other, we traumatize each other. But here's the part that stings. Who builds the AI girlfriends? Who creates the corn? Who feels trafficking? It's not robots, it's humans. So when humans are trying to say, hey, don't worry, this robot isn't gonna hurt you, who's the creator of it? A human. We create the very thing that destroys us. We hurt each other. Then we turn around and design something worse to replace the connection that we've ruined. And it feels like a cycle that is never ending. AI girlfriends are just the beginning. What happens when robots replace intimacy altogether? What happens when corn isn't just on screen, but something we can feel, live in, escape to? At some point...
I mean, I'll answer that question, right? I think that by that point, women will be absolutely screwed, man. Absolutely screwed. I mean, dudes are already walking away in such huge numbers. They're done with dating. They're done with dealing modern day women. So you start to add this kind of stuff to the fuel to the fire. And I don't really, realistically, guys, I don't see a lot of men actually trying to return to dating and take it seriously. Now, there are a lot of guys who will, you know, they'll go overseas or they'll go out into the middle of nowhere and whatever. But I think a lot of dudes are just quite frankly done with it, guys. And I really do want to stress this point as well before we wrap up today's videos. Oftentimes, I'm very skeptical of these women who make videos like this because a lot of them, again, I don't know the validity of this woman's situation, but I think trafficked and words like this are really becoming diluted by women who just enter into these industries and then they end up regretting it because they feel discarded. You know, because men don't want to date them, or because they can't get as much attention as they used to, or now they have an incredible amount of baggage, or they went through some unpleasant experiences for money and so on. Like their soul is essentially damaged, and now they want to turn around and say stuff like this. So I'm just always very skeptical of videos like this, guys. I find it hard to empathize. Now, if this woman was, you know, loaded into a, like, you know, a shipping container or something like that and shipped off to some random country, I mean, sure, but I think a lot of these girls are just entering into this industry. They're accumulating a lot of damage to themselves, and then afterwards they say that they regret it, and then they claim that, you know, man behind the scenes bad kind of thing. I don't know this woman's exact situation, but that's my thoughts on it. Always very skeptical, and I certainly understand why a lot of guys you know, act this way or are turning away from modern day women. But guys, we're going to be leaving it there. Don't forget to leave your thoughts and your comments. Make sure you guys take care of yourselves, and I'll be seeing you all in the next one. Peace.